Hello, crafting friends. Excuse me. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. I'm so happy that you're able to join me tonight. We're going to have fun tonight with a very fun fold, and I am ready to get started. So let me just getting my phone. So happy Friday. Another week is done, which makes me happy. It was a busy week. The end of the quarter, parent conferences. So we were right out straight. So I am glad the week's over and ready to enjoy some time on the weekend. All right. So I'm going to be using tonight a new designer series paper. So let me just make sure I'm grabbing the right package for it, because I've taken it out. This is the Traditions of Christmas 12 by 12 specialty designer series paper. So like when we have a specialty designer series paper, there's something special about it. And this is all of the gold that's in it. So I don't know if I'm holding this up to the light that you can just see all of the gold that's found in the designer series paper, but one side has gold accents and the other side has a plain pattern. So I'm just going to show you first the gold accented sheets, and then we'll turn it over and I'll show you the rest. This is one of the pieces we're going to be using tonight, and I'll tell you the colors in just a second. It's just really beautiful paper. We're cutting from this piece of paper tonight. It has those beautiful bouquets. And then here's another piece. And then if we turn over the background, we have a plaid check. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining me tonight. And all these colors coordinate. We have a diagonal stripe background. We have a red dot background. We have a green striped and dot background. And then we have a blue dot background. And the blues are the Secret Sea. We have gold, of course. And we have Cherry Cobbler, Real Red, Old Olive, and Pool Party. So this is what we're going to be using tonight to do our fun fold. And what I want to show you on this piece is I decided to cut out one of the bouquets for the front of the card. And I decided I wanted the reds. So we have Pool Party flowers. We have pink flowers. The pink is, did I say? It doesn't list it. So it's one of our pinks. And we have the Old Olive. We have red ribbon, we have red flowers, so we've got all these flowers. So I decided I wanted to cut out red flowers. But then I noticed along the side here, at the bottom and the top, there were going to be flowers left over. So I actually cut those out, and we're going to be using those tonight too. So, hi Joyce, thanks for coming in, for joining tonight. So tonight I am going to use our sentiment from the Delicate Pine set. So this card is not going to resemble any of these stamps because we're using the designer series paper tonight, but this will be for our sentiment. So before I start talking about what we're going to use tonight, let me show you the card. So here's the card. It is a front panel fold, but it has a surprise on the inside. So I've used the snowflake paper here. I've cut out the bouquet, and I cut out 3 additional flowers to put on it with dimensionals. I have my warmest winter wishes. I've got my gold bling, my gold ribbon, and be ready. It's a card holder, and the gift card where the gift card is held pulls out as you open the card, and then when you push it back in, it pushes back into the fold. So it's just a really cool and easy fun fold. It seems that every year, I know I always give gift cards out, and so I really want a nice card to be able to put a gift card in, and this fits the bill for me, and I just love the gold. So let's talk about what we're going to use tonight. So I'm going to be using the gold stripe ribbon. It's just so pretty and it just glimmers. So this is perfect for this card. I am going to be using some gold, but notice I've cut my pieces really narrow. And that's because I don't want to waste my gold because I run out of it so quickly. So these pieces are cut at a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4 inch. And if you noticed on here, it looks like I layered both of these pieces with gold cardstock, but I only layered the top and the bottom. And that's a little hint to let you know how you can conserve either colored cardstock or gold cardstock or your gold foil. And because it's coming out right to the edge, I don't have to worry about this edge on either end to need to have that gold foil. So just a little hint for you for tonight. So we have that gold foil. I have a scrap of the gold foil that I'm going to use under the sentiment. So I just took one of these 1/2 inch pieces and used enough for this, and then I'm going to use it for this card as well. And I used the Grateful, I have them out somewhere. My craft room is a disaster right now, like a big disaster. I started organizing it last weekend. Haven't been able to get back to it at all this week, excuse me. And I don't know about you, but when I start organizing my craft room, it just becomes, everything seems to be out of place. So, hi Lynn, thanks for joining tonight. So I used the Grateful for You dies to cut this out. I wanted a bigger die and I wanted to be able to see those snowflakes. So this is the snowfall paper that comes in a 12 by 12 sheet. I also used this and let me give you the dimensions for the inside because I didn't just want plain white paper. So I'm using this as my white on the inside, and it measures 4 1/4 by 5 7/8, and I'm going to be scoring it, and we'll do that in just a minute. So I'm going to set that one aside. I also have 2 pieces of the designer series paper. I'm in love with this piece here that has both the real red and the cherry cobbler in it, and it has poinsettias and some other flowers. It's just gorgeous, and then it just has all that gold in it. So this piece here measures 2 by 5 1/4. If I wasn't going for the gold, I could go up at least 1/4 inch to 2 1/4. But I'm using the gold, so I cut it at that side. And the plaid, and on the other side of the plaid has another beautiful gold design, but the plaid measures 1 1/2 inch by 5 1/4 inch. And then out of the designer series paper, I've already hand cut one of the bouquets of the flowers with all of the greenery and gold leaves. And then I cut out, as I said, so they didn't go to waste, 3 of the flowers that match the bouquet so that I can use it in my final design. And I also cut out some pink ones. And then for a base, this is like great Christmas colors. And then for the base, we're using a 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 piece of red cardstock. And this is going to be scored as well. So let's start with that. The scoring is easy, so I'm just going to use my paper trimmer for this. So on one side of the red cardstock, I am going to be scoring it at 2 inches. And so just always make sure your blade is up. So I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to score the other side at 2 1/2 inches. So get that perfect. Okay, that is all the scoring for this. And then on our piece of snowflake paper, we are going to be scoring this on one side at a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use this side of the trimmer to do that 1/2 inch. And then on the other side, it's going to be scored at 2 inches. So I'm going to put that right there. Okay. So before I put this together, I'm just going to fold this, and I am going to use my bone folder to give it a nice burnish. I am putting I have something on my table. I am putting the back side of the design paper on the back and having the gift card holder fold up so you can see the design there. This is going to be covered by the gift card, so I'm not worried about that. And then I am going to fold this one in the opposite direction because this is going to adhere to the inside of our card. Now, before I put any adhesive on, I am going to, before I put it in the card, I'm going to add some adhesive. I'm going to do a punch on this. So this shows you how long I've been a demonstrator. I just grabbed one of my 1/4 inch circle punches. I've been a demonstrator for, it'll be going on to 27 years next year. And I've never replaced my thumb punches because I still use them. So I am just going to punch a 1/2 of circle out of the center so that I can have something to reach in to grab that gift card. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the pockets on this to really have a nice hold to it. And I probably should use glue on this end so I have some wiggle room. But how we're putting it on, I'm really not worried about that. So I'm just going to use the tear and tape as well. So I'm just going to give it a little burnish because the backing comes off so much easier when you do that. And this is just going to fold up into that gift card holder. And then I am going to be putting, let me fold this. So we have our 2 inch, excuse me, was it 2 inches? Yes, our 2 inch piece here. This is going to be the other pocket that the gift card holder is going to go into. And then the 2.5 inch piece, when you fold over this, it's going to overlap just a little bit, which is what we want. And it does make it 4 inches wide instead of 4 1/4. So if you want it to be a 4 1/4 width, you would score this a little less so that you can have that 1/4. Okay, so that's done. So this end, so just so I remember what's what, I am going to the smaller end, or the 2 inch end. I am going to make that into my pocket, and again I'm going to use tearing tape to put it together. So again, I just like to burnish it because it just makes it easier for me to do this. So I'm going to, and now I have that pocket. And for this piece, it's going to go into the pocket, and then I am going to adhere it just above the score line so it will push that in and close it. So it will be like this. So it's going to go just above the score line. So let me just take that out. I'm going to put my adhesive on. And like I said, if you want to have some of that wiggle room, you can see maybe in the side how it fits right along that score line. I hope you can see it at least. Yes, you can. Okay. So I'm going to take this off. And like I said, it's pretty easy to put on. So I'm not really worried about that. Now I'm going to open this up so that it will be super easy. I want to make sure I center it. So that's the biggest deal. But if it's not centered 100%, I'm really not going to be worried about it. So I'm just going to push that down. And then what I'm going to do is put that piece in. And so it will slide in when I close it. And it will slide out when I open it. Isn't that cool? So much fun. Okay, so now let's start decorating this card. So the first thing I'm going to do is just add some adhesive at the top and the bottom so I can put my gold on. It is much easier to add your adhesive to the designer series paper than to the little tiny piece of gold. So, oh, we have some more people joining us. Wonderful. Hi, Suzette. Nice to have you join me tonight. So I'm going to take these little pieces of, and I'm just going to take my designer series paper, and I want it to have a nice border. So I'm going to make sure that I'm adding it so there's a good border. Because I really want this gold to accent the gold that's in the designer series paper. So that's what this piece looks like. This is going on the bottom. And then I can just add the adhesive right to the back of the gold. And this piece is going to go on the bottom. And so I can just center that on. And there we have our bottom piece. Okay, now for the top. So I'm going to do the same thing. I want that nice border with the gold. Oops, let me kind of, it's a little too thick. So I'm just going to take that off, and it went right back down. Okay, let's try that again. That looks better. So there's the gold on this piece. It just really pulls the rest of the gold out. So I've got to decide where I want this flower and where I want this poinsettia. And I think I'm going to put it on the left and put this more on the right. So I'm going to just add my adhesive. And I'm going to add this to the front. And I'm just going to line it up with that piece of designer series paper on the bottom so the edges match. Okay, so now we have the base of the card all set and ready to go. So now let's get the tag, the ribbon. Let's do the, I swore I had a piece of white paper over here. Don't you hate that when it happens? When you know it was right in front, and I think it's right here. Yes, that's 3/4 of an inch. So I'm using 3/4 of an inch of a piece of white. So I'm just going to take this ribbon and I am going to put it on the right over this front layer. I want to make sure I have enough room on each side to make a bow. So I'm going to just pull a little from over here, and I think that will work. And then, as you've probably seen me do before, I do that first little knot or tie, and oops, I don't want my ribbon to, let me make sure it's straight on the back because it wasn't on the front. So I want to make sure my ribbon on the inside and the outside is not curling up in a different direction. So we'll fix that. Looks much better. And then what I do, because I can't tie a decent bow without someone holding that, now I can tie my decent bow with those self-closing tweezers. I can take it out, I can tighten it, and I can adjust the bow to be the size that I want it to be, and then I can tighten it again. I can adjust it on the front here so it doesn't stick over. There we go. And then I can just trim the ends. So there we go with our bow. Now for our little tag here. And so again, you can see the snowflakes that have been embossed on this. And so that's really nice on this paper. So like I said, I've already cut this bouquet on the back of it. I'm not going to go right up on the top, because if you look back to the original ones, the top of it goes off the tag a little bit. I will put in some reinforcers with some smaller pieces, but overall I'm just going to add all of this, and I think we can get one to fit right there. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a little bit of my edge here, and I'm going to put a piece, 2 pieces towards the top over there. There we go. I think we're good. So now I'm just going to take these off and put them on the tag. That little piece doesn't want to come off. I have never had that happen with a dimensional. It really didn't want to come off. All right, so I'm just going to have a little bit of the bow coming off at the bottom, a little bit of the greenery sticking off of the top. There we go with that part of the tag. Now I'm going to take these 3 flowers and I'm going to put a dimensional on the back of each of them. They're just big enough for one of our regular dimensionals. And I love that I found a use for those little pieces that I had left over. So each one is just a little different. And so this one is more cherry cobbler, and the flower in the center is the cherry cobbler one. So I'm going to add that one right over. This one on the end has more of a squared in at one side of the flower. And then this one will just give the flower such depth. And when I add the dimensionals with it, it just looks so cool and more 3D. All right, so I am going to put this on the front of the card, center it, kind of put my finger here so I know where all of my dimensionals need to go. So I want them to go kind of above my finger a little bit so that we don't close the card with dimensionals. So I'm just going to put a couple on. There we go, and take those off. And then all we have left to do is add some bling and stamp our greeting. So this is a way to show you, you could use any of your sentiments that you have for Christmas. And you could just take a package of designer series paper and make yourself some either gift card holders like I am doing, or make yourself some cards with it, and not have to buy a new stamp set if you don't want to. Okay, all we have left is to stamp the greeting and add some bling. So I am using, I know I've put something on top of them because I just had them. I do this all the time. It drives me absolutely insane. And then it's right here. Okay, I'm using these gold and pink low profile dots. And so I'm going to start by adding some to the tag. I'm going to start with a large one. And it's going to go right here in the corner. What I really love about these low profile dots is that they don't add a lot of bulk. Okay. All right, I'm going to use real red ink, and I am using the greeting that says warmest winter wishes. Even if I get someone a Dunkin' Donuts card, like sometimes at work, I'll give different people who work in my classroom with my kids at different times of the year, I will get them like just a Dunkin' Donuts gift card, but I'm still going to make them a really pretty gift card holder, because that's the gift, the packaging, how you put it in. And then you've got this that is actually a card as well. So if I need space to do a lot of writing, I'll put a piece of white paper here on the back. I didn't today, but that is something I would do. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this a little bit with my paper snips, and I am going to attach it to that piece of gold. I think one of the easiest ways to accent your sentiment is not necessarily putting it on a big piece of paper that gives it a border all the way around, but just putting a strip of some coordinating cardstock it just does so much for the card. And I just want to make sure this is straight, because I think it's just a little off. And I go crazy when it's not perfectly straight. The life of being a perfectionist. Okay. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to add dimensionals to this, and I'm going to add a couple pieces of bling to this as well. And then we will be all done, except for a couple of announcements. And then, like I said, I'm going to add a couple of little pieces of the smaller ones right in the corner. I like keeping it all, I like keeping it in odd numbers, so that gives me 5. But there we have it, our fun fold with a surprise gift card holder inside. So we open up that top piece, and the gift card holder just slides right out. And I can show you, I put a card in here so you could see what it looks like. I pushed it way down because it's actually a credit card, and I didn't want anything that you could see. I knew that wouldn't be a good idea. Not for you guys, but for putting it on YouTube. That maybe someone would see something that they might want to use. I've had my information stolen too many times. So that is this week's Fun Fold Friday. I hope you have enjoyed this fold. If you decide to make this fold, make sure you comment with a picture so we can see and share what we've done. So on Sunday night, when I come back this week for Simply Stamping Sunday, we're still using the Ornamental Christmas set, and I will also be announcing the winner of the drawing for November. And remember, the winner, if you are inside the United States, will get a set of dies, the seasonal word set. And if you're outside of the United States, I will send you a tutorial that has 3 fun folds in it. So it will be worth your while either way. The other announcement I have is that keep checking out my Facebook page this week, because I'm going to be doing some things a little differently, and I want your feedback, and I'm going to be asking for some of your feedback as well. So please be checking it out during this week, and with the questions and different things I'm going to ask you. So I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.